Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, I've told you so often, I try not to talk about the same things all the time, but I've told you often the need or the desire to learn how to read your water, to read a river, to read a lake. And what are you really reading? What you're doing is you're observing. And when you're out there, you try to observe where those fish tend to be, try to determine why they tend to be there, and therefore it can help you determine where you're going to fish. Remember, in most cases, 90% of the fish in any water system are in 10% of the water. So most of the water that you go to, that you enter, that you put your boat into, that you walk along the shoreline or whatever, most of that water doesn't have any fish in it. You have to determine and figure out where those fish want to be. And I've always called this in learning how to read a river. And I think this year, through all my years of fishing, but this year more than any other, I am learning how to read a river. And why is that? I think it's because I'm trying. I think it's because I'm spending so much time watching, looking, observing. You know, when I go out wading, most people probably wouldn't want to be with me because I'm extremely patient. I may not be patient in other aspects of my life, but I'm extremely patient. And so I've found myself standing in an area in the water, out in the middle of a stream, and not moving for a half an hour. It's not because I'm like Forrest Gump or something where I'm trying to determine everything. It's because there's so much to watch and observe and take in. Watching how the current might spill in a certain area. Watching where the fish seem to be striking from. There may be a pool, and only one small part of that pool seems to be holding fish. Well, why? I have told you in the past that generally, and these are very general observations, but generally, the tail end of a pool, where the water starts gaining speed again, tends to be the hot point of any water area. The tail end of the pool is always, or I'm going to say most of the time, better than the beginning of a pool. Those fish are going to be in the beginning too, because it's spilling over, dropping down from a pool ahead of above it, and there's going to be a lot of oxygen and fish there. But at the tail end of the pool, everything is kind of being swept down there, and those fish will hold right where the current starts to really gain speed, and they'll be gulping up stuff that's washed to them. Now, another part of reading a river, and I've really found this to be true, that if you have any rocks that protrude above the water level, in other words, they stick out above, you can see them easily, those rocks are going to serve as a barrier to the current, and the current is going to split and go by on each side, and then behind the rock, it's going to be much more still water. Well, behind that rock is a place, in other words, I'm saying downriver of that rock, right behind it, is where that fish is going to stay and hold and wait for stuff. It's going to, and what I have found is the bigger the rock, the bigger the fish behind it. Now, that's not always going to be the case, but it really seems to be the case. So whenever I'm fishing a stretch of water and I see a big rock protruding above the water level, I never will go by without trying to place my lure right on the downriver side of it, where it can sweep in right to that slow water. And I'm telling you, I have some of the biggest fish I catch in a given day are always going to come from behind that rock. Now, this seems to be more case in the middle of a day when the sun is the hottest and fish aren't really active. That's where they're going to be resting. And the bigger fish is going to dominate. It's not going to let the little ones live there. It's going to dominate that. Your first cast in there, if there are more bass than the one, usually the bigger fish is going to bully the others, and it's going to be the fish to strike. So these are some of the things that I've found, but I've really sort of changed my methodology of fishing these streams as I've come to read the river better. And I think that's one of the things that I'm starting to do the best. And that will determine, that water is going to tell you also what type of presentation you want to make. And we'll make that on a whole nother fishing report. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.